this is where things were. This is where things were kind of dangling around before the Democrats stepped in and helped out Republicans.
They just want to make sure that they're able to get access to the benefits that they deserve and that the government is actually open. And I'll add, by the way, I don't think it has helped in any way, shape, or form that the House of Representatives has been recessed for the last 6 weeks, has actually canceled 6 weeks of session that we were supposed to be here. Now, we did pass in the House this clean CR that I voted for that would open the government, and I wish the Senate would just go ahead and pass that as they had the opportunity to do many times now. But the fact that the House isn't here, I think, has made it harder to find some common ground to get us out of this mess.
So you would ask Speaker Johnson to recall the House?
Not only would I've asked him to do it repeatedly for the last 6 weeks. There's no justification in my view. And honestly, it's Republican voters, I think, who should be most upset about this when they actually delivered a Republican majority. And now that's being wasted because for 6 straight weeks, everything that was on the agenda, all of the legislation we were going to mark up, all of the important oversight hearings have actually been canceled by the Speaker of the House. So that's a big problem, in addition to the fact that we're not here to actually play any constructive role in getting the government back open.
That was Kevin Kiley. Maybe he's not a big name congressman, but he's a Republican congressman who just told Fox News before this whole thing went down over the weekend with the Democrats caving. He said he's been pressing Mike Johnson to reconvene the House because something has to be done. It's been a disaster. We're not getting anything done. We have to actually follow through on our promises, do this and do that. The pressure has been on. Last week and the week before, I've been talking about how Republicans have been unraveling slowly. Actually, not even that slowly. We've been watching Mike Johnson struggle in front of cameras and tell those same lies that get debunked finally by a couple of news outlets. You know what? Let's let some of the usual suspects that are right about this, one being Bernie Sanders, tell you what happened.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare. Number 2, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show that will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. As everybody knows, just on Tuesday, we had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened. We got a lot of work to do, but to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night.
So Bernie Sanders is left talking about how they're going to try and do more for the American people that are going to be in these situations that they're finding themselves in. All those things that Democrats were preaching, talking about, winning the debates over, and it didn't even have to do any convincing. When this administration, this party, this MAGA party is this bad, they've made the case for you. The American people are looking at their reality and going, this guy sucks. Everything sucks here. Prices are up. We're about to have our health insurance skyrocket. But their answer is always, nothing. We don't want to give you anything. In fact, we don't want to give you what you deserve. I hate the terminology of Americans are getting something. Americans have paid for things that they're just not getting. This is a raw ass deal. You know what? Here's more from Bernie Sanders.
Everybody in America knows that our current healthcare system is broken. It is dysfunctional. It is cruel. It is by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and the only healthcare system of any major country that does not guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited incomes for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense?
No one thinks it makes sense. As a matter of fact, there was that election also from last week that Democrats were celebrating like crazy. Oh, finally made it over the hump. Finally, we're seeing how all these American people completely and utterly reject Donald Trump and his MAGA policies that are destroying people's lives. For some reason, Democrats take those types of wins and think, now that we've got these wins and this confirmation for what we've been arguing over, now that it's under our belts, it's time to give it away. Matter of fact, what it does is after you've told enough people, we understand where you're coming from, we understand the situations that you're in, and we're here to fight for it to make sure you get out of those situations. After those people trust you and say, sure, yeah, I'm glad that you're seeing what I'm seeing because this president and this MAGA party does not see what my life is looking like. After you are on their side, you then go and say, just kidding. It means that this is all just smoke and mirrors. It means the things that they understand are happening in their lives, the Democrats said they understand and agree with, it means that they were just joking around and we're on the side of MAGA and those Republicans because that's what they gave them. So I got to wondering, what is it? I mean, there must have been something, right? Everyone that looked at this said, oh man, the Democrats are folding. I said, well, they can't be completely folding. There's something that they got out of this because, again, they were kicking their asses around.
Now, I know as part of this resolution that the majority leader is going to say, well, Democrats can put together their own bill and it'll come to the floor here in the Senate for a vote. As everybody here knows, that is a totally meaningless gesture. You can get 100 votes here in the Senate. Won't mean anything because the House is not going to take it up, and the President of the United States certainly will not sign it.
These Democratic politicians know how things work. They do understand that Donald Trump is still in the White House. They still do understand that Mike Johnson, his puppet, is also the Speaker of the House. Remember, Mike Johnson kept talking about open the government back up so we can get to negotiating. Here's Mike Johnson talking about how open he is to negotiating now that he's been given his win.
He's offered them a vote. You know what they told him in response? No, we need you to guarantee the outcome of that vote. Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be done.
From the Senate, will you assure the House members that they'll get a vote, House Democrats, that they'll get a vote on ACA subsidies by date certain?
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'll tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way. That it was never possible or appropriate. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'm not promising anybody anything.
I'm not promising anything. You guys. That's what Mike Johnson says because he's Donald Trump's mouthpiece. And Donald Trump has been tossing middle fingers at the American folks forever. In fact, he dropped a bunch of turds on them after that King's Day protest in his wild fantasies in his AI videos. But Mike Johnson, after being handed that whole win, after he said, just open the government, open the government, open the government, open it back up. I tell you what, hey, do anything we want and we'll have those negotiations. He says, I'm not going to promise anything. And no, it's not one of those situations where you go, oh, I mean, are Democrats happy now? Actually, these Democrats that crossed over, these Senate Democrats that crossed over, they knew that was the case. Because here's that same Mike Johnson from early October.
But just to clarify what you were just saying, do I hear you correctly that you, as Speaker of the House, want to see the tax credit extended at a future date? Is that what you were saying?
No, I haven't staked out any position on it yet because that's not how this process works. We're in a deliberative body.
Right.
Every interview, every press conference he did was talking about how just open the government back up. Just open it back up. Just give us what we want. And then maybe we'll talk about those other things. And when asked what kind of healthcare plan they do have to negotiate with, because, you usually go into negotiations with something that you want or something that you're willing to come to the middle on, they said they have nothing. They said waste, fraud, and abuse. They said, let's kick more people off of Medicare. They said, let's kick more people off of SNAP. They were very transparent about the fact that they do not like this country. And matter of fact, the people that voted for them, they're very open to them talking about how they don't give a damn about their lives.